Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. Today's topic is bring order to your life. And, last week we talked about the new tools of aligned living and how it's shifted from what it originally started as this ability to separate ourselves from the external world, to unplug our empathic abilities from being 90% external and 10% internal, reversing that feedback loop so that we are now 90% feeling us and 10% external, and creating a clear separation and be able to live from that place, aligned living, right? And how it was always this place where we talked about these tools called the tractor beam and the gift of rejection, where when we stabilize in our alignment, we stabilize in the energy that we're constantly attracting through the tractor beam of our electromagnetic field. Like, there's a very real thing happening in that invisible realm of electromagnetic energy, that there's resonance and non-resonance, and stuff gets attracted to us. And as we stabilize it and don't adjust it to make the world comfortable around us, or to make us comfortable with how the world feels different, meaning matching our surroundings instead of being us, then we actually receive the gift of rejection as well, where people are not interested in us. And that was how it started, right? And that is still the core essence of it. But this new energy that we're working with now, with what we call the fence line, where we're actually staking a claim to our energy, stabilizing it, it's really consolidating our power, creating this reservoir around us of our energy and amplifying it in a way that we weren't before, which is really bringing order to our life. And it's remarkable, the difference between being in this discovery place where we're kind of moving through the world. And, I think about the first, I don't know how many years of my spiritual journey was non-ordinary experiences and seeking them, right? And I think that's what most people are doing in the spiritual realms. And so welcome, Nick. We'll get into all these topics, but
Good morning, David. That was fun, even just to pick you up as you were talking about the two items, right? Like this exploration,
the fluctuation energy, to play with the
demonstrating
the difference in those two.
Yeah. In the wise words of David Waldas, so fun. Just to pick that up, right? So even just diving into the things that we don't want. Like, here's my learning over 2 minutes. Even just diving into the things that we don't want to be in, sort of brings us into that energy, even if we're just talking about it.
We absolutely fluctuate our energy with where we're going with our story. And the more energetically tuned in we are, we can't, to talk about something, especially if we're, and our eyes often do this. We look up, we look over, and we're in the experience versus locking in and stabilizing.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be said about, and I was just talking to someone the other day, there's a big conversation around what we put in our body and how we treat our bodies well, and the nutrition and all those things, but there's still some, but less of a conversation around, well, what are we exposing ourselves to? What's the information that we allow in? Because now we're in that. And so if we want to be
that's
in
bringing
this
order to us, right?
Yes.
And that's often what people want to do, is they don't want to be responsible for their own order because it feels hard. It feels complicated at first. It feels confusing. Right. And so they're looking for the world to bring order to them. But what the world brings to us and the order we get is high
disorder.
Anxiety, cortisol. It's this constant experience of something is very wrong. And there's never been a time more ripe for us to go, you know what? Not interested in that. I'm not interested in exploring that. I'm not interested in where other people are. I'm interested in simplifying my life by locking in on my energy, my own alignment, and stabilizing it. And when I do that, it's interesting. Since I got the download for the fence line work, which is the stabilizing at another level, it's created a lot more order in my life. And I've been finding myself going through all the different segments of my life and bringing order to them. I'm like, wow, it's interesting. Before I would just be out of sight, out of mind, and stuff could kind of push out of the, out of my awareness, and it didn't need to be in order. And since I've been working with the fence line now, and I've had to bring myself into another level of order, all the things that I touch now becomes more and more important to me. And a lot of my energy has been going into bring structure and order to everything in my life, which feels fantastic because it simplifies everything. It doesn't get confusing and wompy, and it's just like, this is how I operate, and this is what's important to me. This is where I'm coming from. This is the energy that is me.
Yeah.
And the examples we've seen of that in the world are usually people that are much more like type A, like, people that are just going after a goal, aren't feeling everything, aren't in the experience of what they really want. They usually lock in on a goal and just go for it and cut through it. And this is very different because this is a holistic feeling. And I think those of us that have been much more in the feeling, the exploration, the empathic ability, the intuitive knowing, we haven't really honored the value of bringing organization and structure and stability into that world because it felt different. It felt like it was chasing something that wasn't really us or that important to us because that's how we saw it being used in the world. And when we bring it back to us and go, you know what, actually, it's the container that I need to operate in. If I'm just wandering around and I'm kind of amorphic and my energy doesn't have structure to it, my life doesn't have structure to it, I get kind of wandering and lost, and I'm not really creating anything. And I fluctuate between feeling really good and feeling kind of confused, feeling a little disoriented. I always need some new stimulus because without that stimulus, there isn't order in my world. And when we develop the ability to hold order in our world, we aren't seeking the stimuluses in the same way. We're actually moving forward with a conviction that says, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. And we stop playing games that we didn't know we were playing. And life gets very simple. How's that all landing,
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We had an interesting conversation about this yesterday too, just us chatting in our
Yeah.
personal
That's
lives, right? And
Yeah. 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 And when you were just talking about those, what I'll just refer to as distractions, like we just don't entertain them. They're just not entertain. We don't
they're not
give them any
interesting.
mind. Yeah, they're not. That's right.
We aren't
That's right.
entertaining them because they're not entertaining to us.
Yes.
Right. So we don't get distracted by them. We just go, yeah, that's not interesting to me. And when
Yeah.
we're in exploration, we're like, oh, what's this? What's this?
That's right.
And they're like, oh, now I'm not getting any of my shit done, and it's interesting to me because I, grown up ADHD, dyslexic, highly empathic, always wandering, always experiencing, always like I didn't know how to bring structure to my world. And it showed, right? Like everything was messy, everything was like a whole bunch of interesting stuff over here, a whole bunch of interesting stuff over here, very eclectic, having a tough time creating something that moved forward in a systematic way because it's just not
Yeah.
how my mind worked. And how interesting it is to actually use energetics to become organized and systematic. Because to
Yeah.
me, energetics always meant going out into these high frequencies that were organized in a way that you couldn't see because the organization was so massively spread out. And it was kind of like the difference between being inside of a hurricane versus looking at it from above with that perfect spiral, where it is perfectly organized. But when we're just in exploration and we're feeling everything and we don't have the structure to our lives, and our attention's all over the place because of all the inputs that we're getting. To me, the ADHD was just simply having that empathic ability turned on outside. And so everything stole my attention. Everything hijacked me. And to be able to bring that order, and I think this is a piece I really want people to understand about aligned living. This is about simplifying our life. It's about bringing it back home to what matters, stop playing games with ourselves, stop playing games with the world, and just create from that place. And the world needs this right now. There's nothing but games and manipulation being played out there. And the world needs people stabilizing their energy, not playing games, and bringing their force to whatever it is that's important to them as individuals. And from an authentic place, it just says, yeah, here's what I'm doing. This is what's important to me. I'm not manipulating things or manipulating myself anymore because I'm distracted or confused or dispersed, diffused. But I'm
Yeah.
locked in,
Yeah.
simplified.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and in spite of all the things that are going on out there, what about the XYZ? Like it
Yeah.
exists, and also it doesn't matter.
Yeah. In fact,
It
actually
can't.
doubling down on it because of that, right? That is
Yeah.
diffusion. That is disorientation. That is distraction. That is polarization, right? And polarization is not about being aligned with ourselves. It's about fighting against and pulling the other way. It's about compensating for wrong, as opposed to just bringing our alignment and letting things
Right.
simplify. Because the moment we're in juxtaposition to a problem,
Mhm.
we're not really in the solution. We're in the opposite problem, and we
Mhm.
see it everywhere.
Yeah, and you're creating in contrast to that problem, that perceived problem, not to what you
Absolutely.
actually
Yeah.
want to bring. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
And then
just
you're playing a game
that's right.
because now you're like,
Yeah,
how do I counterbalance the bad that's happening?
that's right. Yeah,
As opposed to why don't I just bring order to myself and bring this to my life and let that
right.
affect everybody and everything around me and let the other people, it's interesting. I think it really falls into the idea of doing our job and trusting other people to do their job and trusting our effect on other people as we do our job. Because when we're out
Yes.
diffused and disoriented and dispersed, we can't do our job. We're spread out all over the place. And when we're aligned and locked in and stabilized, that's our only job. And then trusting that it's going to affect other people and they're going to affect other people. And other people are doing this as well in their own way, whether it's aligned living or whatever it is that they're doing to lock in on themselves. It is a transition that's going on the planet. And the moment we're playing along with the turmoil, and it's funny too, because I think people think of that as simplified. Like, oh, I have this really strong cause I'm on. Like, yeah, in opposition to something. That's not
That's right.
simplified. Now you're
That's
actually
right.
locked in with whatever else is happening. You're pulled all over the place and your emotions are all over the place. But when we lock in on knowing our truth and what we're bringing, that's simplified and that's structured and that's organized and it feels you can feel the safety in it because you're not at the mercy of all the fluctuations that are constant.
Yeah. There's a yeah. When you were talking, there's a quote, and I was trying to find it by Buckminster Fuller.
Yeah.
The idea of it is, just really not fixing the system, but creating a different one, right? Like
Yeah.
just create what's
Scrap it.
needed.
Yeah.
You just create what's needed. Don't try to move it a little bit to the left or make it a little taller, a little shorter. Just create something totally different. Create what is actually necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all about being authentic and aligned with yourself. And when we're in
Right.
opposition to something, that's not what we're doing. It feels like it's what we're doing, and life feels really simple because we know what our mission is to fight against something. But that's not really creation.
Yeah.
That's entanglement. That's being
Yeah.
controlled by something else. That's messy. And we don't think of it as messy because we feel so focused. But when we focus internally on what we want and what we're bringing, that's simplicity, that's organized, that's structure, and that's
Yeah.
safe and effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the like we look at all that, like when the whole world is opposition pulling against each other, there's nothing but ineffectiveness happening because everybody's gridlocked with each other. And
Yeah.
whoever's
Right.
the most daring, the biggest bully is gonna win. And when
Yes.
we lock in on ourselves and our truth and align it with our highest self, that's effective. Getting gridlocked in all these shit is not effective. And
God,
effectiveness creates simplicity.
I don't know why this is showing up, but the most obvious, just basic, and I think it's just like a basic need that's showing up. Like when we were in Costa Rica about a year ago, we come off the beach and there's this guy that's, um, climbing up trees, grabbing coconuts, chop it off the top and selling coconuts for whatever, I think it was like $5 a coconut. The,
Mhm.
and it, and you're not thinking about this coming off the beach. Like you're thinking about the good time you had, the walk to the place you need to go to. And then this thing is presented to you and like there's no other option of there's nothing else to do other than just say yes and hand this guy $5 for this coconut. Like it's the thing you absolutely 100% need right now.
Right.
It was such a draw to it. And so
Mhm.
there's no one trying to sell you things you didn't need at that point. Like it would have just felt gross and maybe you would have taken it because that was the option, possibly.
Mhm.
But with this thing that was just so biologically aligned, shall we call it, right? It's just so obvious that was the thing that we needed right now. And so we're not, all the things out there are the opposite of that coconut. All the things out there are just the things that we just don't need. It's going back to that simplification. How much more simple can you get than something coming off of a tree that gives you all the nutrition you need right now based on
Yeah.
the half hour, 2 hours you were spending on the beach? I mean, it's a very simple
Yeah.
thing when it comes right down to it.
And we're getting tricked into thinking that doing something against what we don't like simplifies our life and brings order.
Yes.
And like the idea that nothing unites people like a common enemy. Absolutely, but it doesn't unite you and organize you in your alignment. It unites you and organizes you in opposition, and it gridlocks, and it's how the world is being controlled. And yes, there's a lot of stuff going on that's wrong, but the solution is not opposition. The solution is creating something, out creating what's wrong. And I love that idea of when we out create the bullshit that's happening rather than fight the bullshit so we can't create it all. We're just in gridlock. And people go, well, you need to do something. Absolutely, you need to do something. Out create it. Create good things in the world rather than spending all your time fighting what's wrong. That's what they're doing, right? If you're in opposition to something, you're in opposition to it because it's creating something. Out create it. Don't fight it. Out create it.
There was a day I was hanging out with the cactus, San Pedro, and what I heard was, you don't solve problems, you create things. And that's right, because once you solve the problem, you're in the system, you're in the muck.
Yep. You're part of the problem. And that may be a hard thing for people to hear, but it really is. Like, it's like the moment we're in opposition, we're gridlocked. All of our energy goes into fighting and counterbalancing as opposed to out creating. And so the solution is going to be out creating.
Yeah. And the argument in the system, and I can see it, is, but I made it better. I made it 1%, 10%. We fired this person. We have this new offering. It's better. It doesn't mean it's good. It's just relative better to the garbage.
Yeah. Better within the same broken, fucked up system.
Yeah. Less garbagey. Who's going for less garbagey? I mean, there was
and pretending that we have the good guys and they have the bad guys. Like, there aren't good guys. Right?
No. God,
and so let's stop playing that and let's go out create the bullshit that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many little memories that are popping up as we're talking. This was years ago. This was probably 15 years ago, going to, I think it was Sustainable Brands, a conference in San Diego. And there was a speaker talking, and he was poo-pooing carbon neutral. Right? He's like, carbon neutral, we're behind. Like, what are we solving with carbon neutral? Like,
carbon negative?
Yes. Like, that's not going to solve the problems.
Yeah.
And we're sharing credits here and there. Like, this is just a fucked up system. It's just a fucked up
system. It needs to be revamped.
Yes.
And it can be easily. But when you're trying to work within the same system, everything's gridlocked. Everything's opposition.
Right. Which that system of carbon neutral was, well, if I'm destroying the planet with my product, isn't carbon neutral better? It is. And it's perfect in that fucked up system. Doesn't make it better, but within that system, it is a great, great option. Also, that system sucks ass.
Yeah. And we are on the verge of, it sure doesn't look that way, but we're on the verge of reworking everything. And it starts with people claiming their own power and not claiming it through opposition. It's like, I think about people that are, fighting the family they grew up in. Maybe it was a family where, money was super tight and stingy. And so they go and spend money freely and are always just letting it flow through them and go, I'm not being controlled by my upbringing. Well, you're absolutely being controlled by it, because you're not saving anything. You're not stabilizing. You're creating the opposite problem, or people that, like you look at your childhood, whatever it is that was present. Maybe it was a super controlling parent. And so you're raising your kids and going, I'm giving my kids all the freedom in the world. I'm not going to let them have the same problem that I had as a kid. Yeah, it's not the same problem. It's the opposite problem. You're not giving them
right,
structure. You're not giving them organization. Right. And that's our human brain. And there's no shame in that. That's how our brain naturally works until we unhook from it and go, okay, let me simplify shit. Let me just get really in touch with who I am and be that. And to me, like, well, how do we do it? Well, that's what the aligned living system is. And these new tools are about the stabilization of it, about bringing it, grounding into your life in a way that wasn't available before until this past year, through the system. And it's so exciting to me because I didn't understand what it meant to organize my energy in this way that makes life so simple, so clear, and this feeling of feeling so powerful walking through the world because you know how much you're affecting it and bringing order to your life and to everything around it. And when we understand about ourselves and value that, king or queen type energy, the organizing structure in our life, rather than valuing the exploration or valuing the ability to know and navigate through this, kind of flowy with it way, rather than being a force. Like the world needs us to be a force. And those of us, all of us empaths and intuitives, and like, we haven't been a force. We've been navigators. And it's time for us to be a force. And to me, that is what's so exciting about the movement of aligned living, is it's teaching empaths, teaching, high performers how to be more in that magician energy, or to be in that lover energy, really, which is a feeling, but to be inside that structure that says, I know the right thing because I can feel it, but I also can hold the shape in order to be effective. And that's what we're stepping into now. And that's exciting to me, because it's giving empaths the ability to have a force that's stabilized of them, that changes things, rather than the ability to feel and navigate. And whether you think of yourself as an empath or not, if you're not able to organize your life and everything around you through stabilizing your energy, you're probably in like the opposition problem creation way of stabilizing yourself, and that doesn't create what you want.
It's an old way.
Yeah, it gridlocks things.
Yeah,
it locks you in the problem.
It is a two-party system, you could argue.
Yeah, and I know it's politics are just such a perfect example of that, right?
Yeah. Not this, that. Is it better? Maybe. Go over there. Is this better? No. That's not better.
And you look at it in spiritual communities, and I know it's changed a lot, but in spiritual communities, quite often people go, oh, the Democrats, they're the good guys. They're the ones trying to help society, but they're ineffective. Yeah. And the Republicans, oh, they're the bad guys. They're out for money and the whatever, but they're effective. And so we're like, well, scrap all of that. And, whether that's your perspective or not, right? Like, that is a prevailing perspective out there.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter. How about if you just align with yourself and be effective? Take from the Democrats, take from the Republicans, take from the conservatives, take from the liberals, and be effective, be clear.
That's right.
Because we don't need a two-party system. We need a no-party system.
Yes, we don't need to demonize money. Money's a good thing. That's how we get shit done today.
Yeah.
And perceived good actions or good intention without actions don't do jack shit. So
yeah. Or being a victim, right? And this is an interesting piece too, right? Because how many people are feeling like victims right now? And when you're in this organizing energy of yourself, and your alignment with God, with source, with energy, with higher self, however you want to look at it, like when you're in that organizing energy, being a victim is not an option. And the moment we're in victimhood, we're in ineffectiveness. We're depleted. We're knocked down. And everybody here that's in victimhood right now, the reason they're there is because they're so frustrated because they don't know how to be effective. They feel like things are happening that they can't stop. And absolutely, in that container, you're not going to be effective. But when you lock in on yourself and you stabilize and you bring order to your world, you bring order to the world around you, and you become effective.
That's right.
And life becomes simple. Life becomes safer. more stabilized, more organized, more clear. And it's so clear, it's so clear to me now that this is a perspective we need to talk about aligned living from, because it's exactly what it is, and it's what people need to hear, and it's just my deepest truth, and the boldness of that, rather than let's talk about it and you'll discover this truth, because this is what's going on the planet, and this is how we need to shift and away from engaging with the problem and start out creating. And it starts with bringing organizing energy to you in your life and explore inside of that instead of wandering around and getting into battles of opposition. I was waiting for you to go, so fun. This is so fun.
Yeah. I was like, are we ending on that note? That was a great note to end on.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's wrap it up. That feels good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's more to talk about with this. I think people can sit with that and go, do I want to continue to be ineffective? Do I want to continue to battle against shit that is so wrong, or do I want to outcreate it? Do I want to bring order and organization to me and my energy, stop playing along, and outcreate all the bullshit that's going on? And train my neighbor so that they can find that in themselves, meaning in training, being that energy so that other people can benefit from it, find that energy in themselves, and create the same. Because that's how this is going to change. Not by playing along, by fighting. Yeah, beautiful. Well, great conversation. Love some feedback on this too, because I think that when we open up conversations about this, that's really where we get somewhere. When Nick and I are just talking about this and going, this is how we feel, this is our perspective, this is our clarity, this is our organizing energy. When people come back with other ideas or thoughts, it really helps it sort. And so turning these into conversations rather than just, like a laying down of my perspective or Nick's perspective, interaction is huge.
Yeah.
And it's how we get somewhere.
Yeah. That refinement piece versus the free exploration piece. Yeah. Different.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening as always, and have a great week. Tap into yourself, organize your energy, and let it affect the world around you. See y'all next week. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.